Here we are at the Hawthorne Exhibit Hall in Sturbridge, Massachusetts for the very first Pintastic New England Pinball Expo. And it's about time that New England finally got a big pinball event. I went on the second day of the two-day event and I wasn't expecting a lot of people there, but I was really wrong. It was crowded. So let's enter the hall. And this was the queue line that you saw. There are some vendors in front of us, and then over on the right are the ticket booths. And you can see some t-shirts over on the left that they're selling, and they're also auctioning them off. It was $17 to get in for the day, and what that got you is all the pinball you could play. It's pretty amazing. And we're going to first start off in this area. This is the vendor's room, and there are people selling all sorts of stuff. If you have a pinball machine and you need to repair it, you could find pretty much anything you needed here. There are also machines on display and companies showing their wares. And it was nice because there was all sorts of pinball items, not just for modern machines, but of course for old electromechanicals, back glasses. And there were some other interesting vendors, and I'll point them out as we get along here. For instance, this is on the left coming up here is a small company called Art for the Arcade. And you can see these beautiful play fields with flashing LEDs embedded in them. I bought the one on the far left over there. Pretty impressive stuff. The show got some pretty good press. There was a local news crew there interviewing various vendors and people in the hall. I like the little robot on the top of that Twilight Zone back glass. And over here, Jersey Jack was displaying not one, not two, but 4 of their amazing Wizard of Oz pinball machines they had just created. Now you might wonder why I'm going outside. Well, there's an entire little carnival out in back of the convention center. It's great for little kids. And there are also additional vendors scattered around the parking lot out there. And there are clowns that wandered the halls for the kids, some on stilts. Over here on the left, where it says Silver Ball Rumble, this was a tournament area, and they had tournaments that you could compete in for prizes all day long. And over here is a whole area set up for VP Cabs. It's a company that makes virtual pinball machines, and the benefit of this is if you don't like the maintenance that a normal pinball machine entails, this is basically just a giant LCD screen that's embedded in a real pinball cabinet. This is Medieval Madness on one of the VP cab machines. Now this over here on the left was probably my favorite display at the entire show. Cardboard Tech making a thing called the Pinbox 3000. It's an entirely cardboard pinball machine that's fully customizable, and it really works. The action on it is quite amazing. I was very impressed with it. That's a Kickstarter project. So now let's leave the exhibitors hall and go across the complex over to the real action. During the event, there was also a pinball charity raffle, Project Pinball, and there were lots of demonstrations by various people on aspects of maintaining pinball machines, the history of pinball. So we take a right through these French doors. If you're hungry, there is a food concession over here on the right. But the place where the mob of people was in here. Hundreds of machines of all types, electromechanical, digital, all free to play with your admission. So let's just take a quick walk through the place, and you get to see the variety of machines they have in here. It was pretty impressive. I love this creature from the Black Lagoon crawling over the machine. Something that I was glad to see was a really good mix of ages. We had a lot of young kids here, probably being exposed to pinball for one of their first times. And you had older people, middle-aged, all different ages. There was really no standard demographic. It was a lot of different people playing these games, and that was good to see. Pinball is still alive. And the majority of these machines also were for sale. So you could take one home with you if you wanted and you had the money. And the prices were pretty reasonable. They ranged anywhere from a few $100. And of course, for the most sought after machines, they go up to several thousand. But there were some pretty good deals to be had. Will you fight the Black Knight again? I was surprised and actually very pleased at the number of electromechanical machines that were on display. I finally got to play Central Park, a machine I never thought I'd ever play. It's one of the more highly regarded of the old school machines. And there it was, running just fine. And that's about it. As I said, there were lots and lots of presentations and talks throughout the day that were very interesting. But this gives you an idea of the sheer scope of this thing. Pretty impressive for a first effort. After years of worrying that pinball was on a decline and machines would fade away and video games would take over, it's nice to see that there's still a really strong interest in this wonderful pastime. So hopefully in 2016 we'll be able to attend the second Pintastic New England Pinball Expo.